Oi, what's the best game where you get to eat pie? What's the best game where you play a dead guy? You'll find out in VG247's podcast. Here, what's the best game where you swing from a rope? And what's the best game where you batter the Pope? Assassin's Creed 2. Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast. Hello and welcome to VG247's Best Games Ever podcast, where we attempt to find the best game within a very specific category. For example, this week, well, it's a bit of a weird one this week because we're looking for the best game of 2023, which is, of course, unknowable and mysterious, much like the motivations of Tom Orry, who joins me alongside associate editor Alex Donaldson.
Hello.
And staff writer Daft Connor.
It's a good choice, Jim, because it's topical, right?
It's topical in the sense that...
Last week was the Christmas special. Now we've got the one that's like, oh, it's the new year coming in a couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, I do understand the calendar, Tom.
I don't know why you're giving it so much hate when it's a perfectly good topic.
It's not. I'm not giving it hate. I'm just saying it's...
come around next December, all that search traffic will be in.
People searching, what's going to be the best game this year? I just don't know. So yeah, this is a strange topic, and it's open wildly to interpretation, and that's where the game is. So first of all, I want to hear from let's go Connor, because the last time Connor was on, he won, and it was a massive upset, not for Connor, obviously. Yeah. And let's see if he can do it again.
Do you know what? It's going to be... Can I switch it? Because I have one, and it's going to win, and it's a great pick, and I love my pick, but I can already foresee complaints from Tom.
Doesn't matter what you pick.
Don't switch it just because Tom will complain.
Because Street Fighter 6 is my pick, because we've already played it, and it's brilliant, right? But I can throw a totally different pick, and it will still be brilliant.
Go on then.
All right. Baldur's Gate 3.
Nah.
Baldur's Gate 3?
Yep. It's been in early access this year, and it's been announced for a release date in August 2023. It is a fantastic RPG made by some brilliant people. And I'm very excited for it, and it looks very, very good.
Have you played any of it yet?
Yes.
What's it like?
It's very good.
It sounds like you haven't played this game, and you've literally just Googled games coming out.
I have played this game. I didn't play a lot of it because it's in early access. It's a problem where they release a game in early access and you know it's going to be updated so much, and an already brilliant game is going to be made even better. It's the problem Darkest Dungeon 2 has right now, right? And Hades had the same problem when it was in its Epic Games sort of pre-release period, right? Baldur's Gate 3 is a brilliant RPG. It's the third game in the Baldur's Gate trilogy. In it, you play a adventurer of sorts who's been kidnapped by I can't remember the name of the monsters, but they're funky squid men. They're horrible, and they're all evil. And they've put a tadpole in your brain, and it will explode and erupt and turn you into a mind flayer. So it's your sort of job. You got to go out into the world and find a way of getting this tadpole out of your head, and in the meantime you meet other like-minded adventurers in a very D&D sort of way. In fact, it is set, I think, in an official D&D campaign, although I'm not a massive dork, so I don't know the exact one. And it's a fantastic RPG. We basically get to have brilliant conversations with other characters. The combat's quite good. It's fully voice acted, which is fantastic.
That's wonderful.
Okay. They've got they're implementing this kind of, there's all sorts of tiny things they're implementing, which don't sound like a big deal, but they are. So basically there's a baseline emotion bar. So in RPGs, if you say something very positive, obviously your character has a big smile on their face, right? But maybe the conversation doesn't warrant that. So if you go into a conversation about some guy's funeral, and then your character says something like, oh no, but it was really great, he won't have a massive beaming smile on his face. It'd just be kind of, happy.
Well,
and
the
that's
guy
just
is dead at the funeral.
No, your character talking about the funeral. You can't have a massive jovial fucking talk about it.
Did you play the previous games?
No, I did not. But I have heard how good they are. I've played Divinity Original Sin 2, which I know you were looking about on Twitter recently.
So you have played those other previous games?
I've not played the previous Baldur's Gate games, but I've played previous games in the similar genre.
Okay.
And I've played Pillars of Eternity 2, which is also great. So I'm kind of excited to jump in on this one. And I played it for a little bit and I was like, do you know what? I'm not going to spoil myself on it. This already seems really great. And I'm going to wait until 2023 when the full release happens.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. And, well, you will not be surprised to hear that. And it looks like this wonderful kind of fusion of kind of BioWare and Larian, which is a very nice mix, actually.
Yeah, there's a lot of history behind the developer, right? They've made tons and tons of games that are all brilliant in this genre. So, like, it seems like a home run. And I am very excited to play it in 2023 when it gets its full release. And I think it's going to be the best game in 2023.
Yeah. You know what?
It's a good choice, actually, isn't it?
That's a really good choice. Yeah, it's much better than Street Fighter 6.
I'm not just a fighting game person. I'm not a single note.
I'm actually really proud of you for swerving. Usually, I would be very, very perturbed if someone said, "Actually, I'm going to change my pick last second." But I'm not, because I think this is a brilliant pivot for Connor. So yeah, all right. It might even win. I might even throw my hat.
We should disclose here that someone I used to work with works on this game. So we can't really pick it. It would be wrong.
Who?
Emily.
Okay. I don't know who that is, so I'm just allowing
and former employee of our parent company, also. Former RPS man.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
You should have told me that before I went on like a 5-minute speech about it.
I mean, you've disqualified. You're out of it, but it's a good choice, Connor.
I don't know them.
You can't, but I know them. Other people know them.
Jim, do you know them?
It's a bit
I don't know them. I don't know them.
Really choose it.
I don't know them, and given that I have been invested with the power, to pick which wins.
I mean, it probably would win. This probably would win.
You know, it's not a conflict of interest. It's not a conflict of Jim Trinka's interest. It's a conflict of Tom Orry's interest, and that's different. All right. Speaking of Tom Orry, what have you got for us?
Right. So this game I've been looking forward to for ages. Right.
Okay. And
I've been emailing the PR all the time.
It's going to be like Football Manager 2023.
Emailing PR all the time.
It's some spreadsheet game. You're never this excited about.
Some basic game no one cares about.
Can I get this game early? Really? Can I see it? What can you say about it? I want to see it. Can you get the code? And they're like, no, you can't get it yet. Right. So and I'm really, really, really excited for it. More excited than I've been for many games in many years.
Yeah.
The game is Forspoken. No, it's not. Forspoken.
No one's excited for Forspoken.
Of course it's not.
Especially after that demo.
Have you played the demo? I know it's maybe better than demo, etc., etc. No, Resident Evil 4 remake. Which, what else is there to say? Like, Capcom have done a good job with their recent, like, modern Resident Evil games, right?
Yeah.
The remake, like, if you look back to the history of the remakes, mostly excellent, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Resident Evil 3 not as good as the others, but they've done some really. If you go back to, like, obviously the original Resident Evil remake, starting from there, that was brilliant, right?
Mm-hmm.
Resident Evil 2, brilliant remake. The modern Resident Evils, mostly all brilliant. Particularly, I think 7 was very good. So there's the kind of the chance of this being bad are incredibly slim, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the most loved games of all time. They've got to make it good, because the backlash would be horrendous if it isn't. What we've seen looks good so far. I haven't looked at much of the footage because I want to be like going in somewhat fresh if possible, which is very hard when you're in this job, because you've got to kind of consume all things to be like knowledgeable, unless you kind of just plays fighting games. But I think this is just it's the game that I've wanted ever since like games became better looking than what they were for a long time. Like this, we're at the point now where games just look incredible, right? So this is like Resident Evil 4 still looks decent, but definitely you can tell it's 18 whatever years old now, is it? Something like that. It's a ridiculous long time. It doesn't feel like it was that long ago, but I played it when I was at university on the stupid GameCube controller, which is just awful, worst controller of all time, but game was good. And I'm just looking forward to seeing what they do with parts of it. Like assume everyone's played Resident Evil 4, but if you haven't, it's parts of it are peak Capcom, utter like what the hell is going on? Ness. Like they've done a lot of like Resident Evil had this in various points, but I think Resident Evil 4 is possibly the peak of just lots and lots of just ridiculous like what is got this. Can't believe I'm saying.
I think that's probably Resi 6 to be fair, but you are right. That
6 is different though. Like 6 has a different feel to it.
It goes a bit too far, maybe.
This feels like almost like like they knew what they were doing, whereas 6 feels like it's just that because it went a bit wrong and bad. Like the bit with the dinosaur transformations, like what? It's just unbelievable.
Here's my little hypothesis, Tom, that you might not like, but my issue is I think Resi 7 as a back to basics, incredible. Resident Evil 2 as sort of an expression of those ideas back in third person, amazing. As soon as they had to make a game that was a little bit more actiony, in Resident Evil 3, that remake wasn't as good.
Yeah.
And Resident Evil 4 is even weirder and more disparate than 3 in that it has really hardcore horror elements, but also really hardcore like slapstick stupidity and things like that in it. And I don't know, it'll be really interesting to see how they marry those in this game, and that's why I think it'll be good. I don't think modern Capcom really makes crap games anymore. But the question of if it's going to be on the Game of the Year contender list is, I think, a massive coin flip.
I think, well, that's one of the reasons I'm most looking forward to playing it, is because there's a lot of it that I just want to see what they're doing with certain bits. I don't want to, I can't spoil it because some people won't have played it and it may not have been there, but there's so many bits in this game where you're like, how's this going to be in the remake? Like, are they going to do it exactly like they did it in the original? And there's elements that have already been seen from the first, like people have played the beginning, right? And we've seen bits that they have carried over, bits they haven't. But I just think as a remake, this has to be up there with like one of the most anticipated of all time. Like it is it is for many people like one of their favorite games of all time. It's one of the games I've played multiple times. Like I don't play that many games more than once. I just think like I've got other stuff to do. I can do something. I play another game, a new game. I've played Resident Evil 4 through probably about 5 times, which for me is like completely like no other game I've played that much ever. So I'm just really quite excited about it, which doesn't happen that often.
Yeah, it's weird seeing you excited about something, but it is also what does count against it is that it is a very kind of shot-for-shot remake of a very old game. Very modernized.
It might
very
not be. I don't think it is going to be a shot-for-shot remake. That's the thing.
It's basically going to be a mostly shot-for-shot remake, isn't it?
I mean, who's not going to get excited when the merchant appears and he's like opening his coat? I mean... That's going to be game of the moment of the year.
You know what? You like merchants popping up in the middle of games because when you did your video about Vampire Survivors, which will have been published by the time this goes out,
best video of the lot, by the way.
Midway through it, you go on this tangent about like, oh yeah, and then a guy turns up and you can buy stuff off him, and you were like, it's almost like your favorite thing is commerce, Tom, which is weird.
This is weird because my son loves buying things from shops and games, and I always thought it was some kind of thing that he'd learned from like playing terrible modern games, but
no, he's got it from you.
It's just inherited it.
Yeah,
is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're just like, oh, I love a bit of retail.
I have got about 8 tabs open for Hot UK deals.
Well, this is it, isn't it? All right, okay. Okay, so we've had a very last minute Baldur's Gate 3 entry. We've had
disqualified, but
not disqualified. Absolutely not disqualified because, like as I'm pointing out, this is your ethical conundrum, not mine. So I'm going to allow it. Alex, what have you got for us?
I'm bracing myself for the anger from Tom when I make this pick.
It's Final Fantasy 16, isn't it?
So let me. No. So here's the thing.
It's not actually.
This topic's bullshit, right? We don't know what's going to be any good next year. We've got no idea. it's impossible to tell. Final Fantasy 16 might come out and all the trailers might be snake oil and it might be a disaster. They might struggle to stick the landing with Resi 4. Zelda might be bad. It might be, or Zelda might be. I think the more likely thing with Zelda is Zelda might be weird and esoteric in that Majora's Mask way, and you're going to get a Majora's Mask to Breath of the Wild's Ocarina of Time. And so all these, and Street Fighter 6, I've been burned before. I played Street Fighter 5 at launch, which was an insult to my intelligence. Still good, and got better, but it was fucking rough. But I tell you what is good, and what will be good next year, and that's Cyberpunk 2077. You can almost make the argument.
What a disgusting suggestion.
You can almost make the argument that 2023 is going to be the year when we actually get the real Cyberpunk 2077 launch, really. We've got the expansion, Phantom Liberty, coming. Anyone who has played The Witcher 3 knows that CD Projekt really know how to do a good expansion story. I actually think they relish making really big games, but ironically, I think a lot of the best content they make comes when they make these slightly smaller, more self-enclosed stories that are maybe 6, 7, 8 hours. And, as someone who Blood and Wine is my favorite bit of The Witcher 3, I am so excited for Phantom Liberty, and I'm thrilled to see that both Keanu's back and there's Idris Elba in it. I can't wait to see that universe get expanded. It's interesting to sort of see. Feels like Phantom Liberty more is, whereas the main story of Cyberpunk deals with a lot of aftermath from things established in the tabletop game. Phantom Liberty appears to be them breaking out and doing their own thing a little bit more, which again, there's a thematic similarity there to what went on with The Witcher, where the core games were more of an adaptation, and then they sort of broke out of that and did their own thing a bit more with the expansions. And on top of that, Cyberpunk is just is finally now at this point at the stage where it has reached its true potential. I think everything that happened at launch was a real shame, because I think the game was decent at launch. But I was having this conversation with Horrific Traitor and Baldy Kirk McKean the other day, where he and I were talking about how modern day Cyberpunk in its current state, in my opinion, is a nice tidy 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. It's a good game. It's not revolutionary in the same way that The Witcher was, but it's excellent. It's really good. It's one of the best role-playing games of its kind. The universe is quite fresh feeling and all that sort of stuff. They've really done a number on it. And obviously, the thing that I wrote about on VG247 a while ago was how really
they really have turned it around. Yeah,
the turning point for them was finally cutting loose the last gen versions, which is something they should have done. They shouldn't have launched it on last gen consoles at all, because that would have freed up people, it would have freed up resources, and they could have released the next gen ones tight, as opposed to 2 versions, one of which was completely broken and one of which was a little bit broken. But they're finally at that stage now, and it's like, that it's coming next year. Phantom Liberty is going to come out, and then they're going to release a disc-based version of that game that includes Phantom Liberty and all the updates and all the DLC, all the Edge Runners DLC and all that sort of stuff, which they did exactly the same with The Witcher 3. You can already see them edging towards that, where like the original Cyberpunk box art is the male version of V. And around the time they announced Phantom Liberty, they replaced all their key art with female V. It's the same art, but it's the lady version. And you can just tell that's probably going to be the box art of the complete edition. And all I'm saying is that complete edition with that DLC is probably going to be one of the best games you can buy in 2023.
I think this doesn't count, really, does it?
No, not really. I can't believe you'd be like, I've been burnt before with Street Fighter, and then with a smile on your face, be like, oh, I'm really excited for Cyberpunk.
But let me put it this way, Connor. Like, I've been burned with Street Fighter before, but if there was no Street Fighter 6 right now, and they were doing a they were doing one last season of Street Fighter 5, and they were going to put the last couple of World Warriors in, and they were going to just tweak up some of the arcade mode and stuff, and they were going to put a new disc out again. I would happily say exactly the same thing. I would say that package would be one of the best packages you could buy that year. And in fact, I said that when they brought Champion Edition out. I said for 50 quid, Champion Edition is one of the best gaming purchases you can make in, what was it, 2020 or 2019? Yeah. But Street Fighter 6 is new and an unknown. I'm talking about something that's good now, that's probably going to get a little bit better as some of the, as they patch some final bits, and CD Projekt's history with just barnstorming DLC. So if you really want to get into the spirit of this, we could say that I'm saying Phantom Liberty, because I think Phantom Liberty will be excellent. And CD Projekt's expansions tend to be full game sort of meatiness. Not full-length RPG meaty, but meaty, 7 hours, like I said.
I mean, I reviewed Blood and Wine back when it came out for Tom, and well, not for Tom personally, but that was weird. Sorry.
I remember we were at CD Projekt together for Blood and Wine, right?
We were actually.
I've still got the corruption wine somewhere.
That they
gave us.
I've got the corruption. Sort of, did you get that?
There it is.
the little kit. I keep the little box that I keep USBs in now. Yeah, that was a good trip for corruption trinkets. So anyway, I reviewed Blood and Wine back in the day, and one of the things I said about it was that they could have released this
as a standalone,
as Witcher 4, essentially, and I don't think people would have felt that shortchanged, because it was so extensive, and Toussaint is such a huge kind of area and everything. So the Phantom Liberty announcement was really exciting, because Cyberpunk has been a bit of a painful thing to get going, but now, as you say, it's in a really good position, and that is an exciting prospect, because it does feel like, okay, it's going to come into its own now. It's going to really become the Cyberpunk that we all wanted, I guess. So I
also think, in fairness, it would have been very easy for them to say, well, the game's had troubles and we've got to do this DLC because we're committed to it, but we're going to sort of phone it in a little bit. But it's quite clear, even from the fact that they didn't just choose to get Keanu back, which probably cost, but they probably had a clause in his contract anyway, right, from the original game about getting him back for DLC. But they then chose to go and get another big name Hollywood actor. Speaks to where they're at and what they feel and the ambition they have, which I think it's going to be a great expansion. It's like, because the core game is so good, I feel more of a guarantee that that's going to be excellent than anything else next year, where there's all sorts of unknowns.
All I'll say, right, is that while there is, historical precedent to say that Phantom Liberty may very well be good, we don't actually know that for sure. RE4 remake could be RE3 remake again. It could be a letdown. You can download Baldur's Gate 3 right now, and we know for sure the game is amazing.
But then you might have fucked yourself there, Connor, because we might then be in if it does early access basically count as a release.
Well, when Cyberpunk came out years ago as well. In that case, Tom's the only real winner.
I was going to point this out myself. Do you want to play the jingle? Then I'll do my argument.
Right. Okay. Yeah. All right.
Right. So Connor's disqualified, right? With the reasons we've discussed. Plus, he's just basically
not
said
the case. That's not. We didn't decide that at all. You said that, and I said no.
He's added to that by saying that the game's already been out and he's played it and it's brilliant, right?
Tom's about to argue that he's the only valid choice, which is bullshit.
Which is nonsense.
And then following on,
because they released RE3 remake and it was a massive letdown.
Following on for what Alex is just saying about how, like, he could have just chosen expansion, right? I mean, that I'd have been fine with that. But as he's gone with the whole game, the game that's been out for a long time and has been pretty like a mess for a long part of it, to say it's like the best game is a stretch, I think. I mean, it's fine now. It's okay. Like, it's okay now. I think we can say it's okay. But I think if you're saying it's a 10 out of 10, I think, I don't know. Resident Evil 4 remake, one of the greatest games of all time, being remade. How can you go wrong, right?
Well, you can go wrong, because I've played Resident Evil 3 and I think
they did it last time. They just cut the clock tower out.
Resident Evil 3, which I think is not as it's clearly not as good as it could have been. I don't think it's a bad game. It's not bad. It's just not as good. It's just not as good as 2 remake, right?
Right.
And also, it's not best game released in
Plus, and here's the
2023.
thing, Resident Evil 4 won't have a shit massive guy chasing you around.
Nemesis is the best. What are you on
Massive
about?
guy.
Nemesis is so cool.
Right. Okay. All right. Look. I need to. I'm gonna make a decision here, right? And it's gonna be a controversial decision, and everyone's gonna hate it because I'm not gonna go with any of what you've said. Because this is the last podcast of the year, and I've decided that I can do whatever I want. So I'm gonna give it to Starfield because nobody fucking knows, right? So
how do you know it's the best game then?
Because it's going to be a culmination of everything that Bethesda have become brilliant at doing over their past fucking 30 years of existence.
Yeah, letting people down, buggy messes.
No, it's going to be...
Fallout 76 ass,
Did you
Fallout
play
4 ass.
Skyrim on a PS3?
No.
Did you?
No,
Did
because
you?
because I got it on the good platform.
I didn't
because,
either, but I'm pretending that I did just to make this point.
Yeah, it's not going to be
work.
on PlayStation, is it? It's just that it's going to be Bethesda focusing on one ecosystem, one set of platforms on the PC side and the Xbox side, so that they're freed from the burden
How
of
many
having to
platforms is that
port
then?
it.
About 1 billion?
Bethesda is burden. That's
Billion different
that is them.
like configurations.
They have they are unburdened from having to port it to the PlayStation, so they are fully they are allowed to just fully focus on realizing Todd Howard's vision, which is to evangelize American exceptionalism via NASA idolatry. And create the space exploration game that we have always wanted, but who nobody has ever been able to make, which is something something that has the vastness and the unknowableness of space exploration, something like No Man's Sky, but with the curated, handmade. Actual proper civilization that you can explore of something like Morrowind or Skyrim. So it's going to be the perfect midpoint between those two extremes, and I think it's going to be not just the greatest game of 2023, but the greatest game of all time. But I know I'm not a contestant, so I can't pick myself. So I'm actually going to pick Alex.
Yeah. It's just kind of good in the end.
Listen, I can't. I mean, if one of you had picked Starfield, that would have won for the reasons I've just discussed. And were I contestant, I'd have won. But look, Connor, absolutely love your pick. But the thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is that I think it doesn't have the redemption arc of Cyberpunk 2077, which is hugely important to me because as everyone knows, I like things to have a story, right? And the story of Cyberpunk 2077 is brilliant because it comes out and it's a shiter and it tanks the company almost, and it almost tanks the economy of Poland, which is a thing I like saying that didn't actually happen, but I like saying it because it's a good headline, right? And then they've brought it back, and now it's quite rightly regarded as one of the best games that studio has done, which is incredible considering that they made one of the best games of all time. So I think Cyberpunk is 2023 is going to be Cyberpunk's year. It's been a long time coming.
Nobody is saying this.
Nobody's
saying
this.
Cyberpunk is going to be the game of 2023. Apart from this podcast,
right?
This is the worst travesty I've ever been involved with.
Resi 4. I've just looked up how long it is since Resi 4 originally came out, and I'm not even going to repeat it because I felt so close to death after seeing the number. And the thing about Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely going to be an excellent game, and we already know how excellent it is, Connor. You're absolutely right, so I'm loath to not give it to you this week. But the story of Baldur's Gate 3 is competent studio makes good game. I mean,
its legendary studio continues 10 out of 10 track record.
No, excuse me.
CD Projekt Red, they make terrible games, don't they?
They do.
Competent
Terrible.
studio.
Have you played Witcher 1?
Right, yeah. Have you played fucking Divinity 2?
Yeah.
I don't mean the original Sin 2. I mean Divinity 2.
Oh, no, I haven't. I'm
and fucking
not
and the weird Dragon Wars one they did. Like, they've put out their fair amount of shiters as well. So, but yeah, they're competent.
I've lost track of what's happening.
Listen, I'm just saying words.
We're giving the final game award of the year.
Yeah.
To a game that launched 2 years ago.
Launched in 2020, and will have an expansion next year.
Right, and was universally, apart from on some websites, including ours, panned for being terrible on multiple systems. That has got somewhat better.
Well, no,
after
because if you look at who gave it the good reviews, like Kurt McKean was playing it on his 20 grand PC, so he thought it was a great
Bill
game.
Cliff who reviewed it for VG247's.
Yeah.
I trust that Bill Cliff is like a good man.
But he also was playing it on a super high-end PC.
Yeah.
Basically, everyone who played it on anything less than like a 2-3 grand PC thought it was a shiter.
It was almost like they
hid.
It was almost like they hid the console versions in that nobody who reviewed the game saw the console
It was all
versions
PC,
until about
wasn't it?
6 hours before embargo.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, it was terrible. But they've really brought that around. And now the game is flourishing in its current state because it's and people can now see past all the technical issues and all the kind of the quality of life kind of daft stuff that gets fixed now post-release. And now it's in a brilliant state, and it is one of the best RPGs of all time. It's not as good as The Witcher 3, but it's one of the best. And next year it'll get better, and it'll have a proper next-gen only relaunch in the form of Phantom Liberty. And so I think it gets it. Tom, Resident Evil 4 was never going to get this because it's a shot-for-shot remake, almost shot-for-shot remake of a 17-year-old game. I have a child that age. It's actually terrifying. And Connor, so it was going to be between Connor and Alex. And yeah, I just love the deliciousness of giving it to Cyberpunk 2077 because we'll get a lot of complaints, and I'm sustained by the rage of people on the internet.
Me?
I feel really bad now. I feel like Connor should have got that. But look, I stand by
There's still time. We've not stopped the recording.
The conclusion's gone for far too long.
Let's just cut it there.
Yeah,
the conclusion never lasts very long because nobody ever gets to hear from me on this podcast. And because it's the last one in the year, I was like, I'm going to talk for 20 minutes now about Bethesda, even though it's completely irrelevant. But look, no, it's obviously going to be Starfield. Cyberpunk 2077 is a worthy second place, and because I'm not eligible to compete, it's going to win. But it was very, very close between Connor and Alex this week. I just want to make that really clear.
Just a genius.
GG, Alex. Good job.
Genius. Right.
Look, at least Alex isn't a 12-year-old boy. Like, it's
That's
fine.
true. Yeah.
Like I said, you will find out in this here podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, please give us a 5-star review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps us get the word out. We're not just a podcast, of course. If you'd like to hear more from the team, then check out VG247.com for our fantastic news coverage, features, reviews, and game guides. Thank you so much for listening. Goodbye.